All right, so another direct has come and gone, and it was a long one. I think historically it's up there. Damn, I wish I had looked into it because the one in April or whatever was pretty long, and of course the Switch One 2017 presentation was respectable too. But because this was the first one that was officially about first party titles from Nintendo since the Switch 2's official launch, there were a lot of really maybe outlandish expectations going into it. But we're going to look specifically into just the Nintendo first party announces. And I'm doing so once again for the first time since January, when we saw the reveal of the Switch 2, and now the Switch 2 is not only out, it's over 3 months old. Scuffy.
What's up? How's it going, guys?
Great. I mean, I guess. Maybe not great. Like, even in the video game space, things are a little strange. But I mean, in terms of the game releases, it's been a pretty solid year. That isn't on the docket, but real quick, we are getting towards, like, getting close to Game of the Year season. How has it been in terms of gaming for this year for you? Do you think it was like one of the all-time greats, or better than usual, or maybe a little mid?
For this year, it's not that bad, to be honest, though, because I can't tell what's the Game of the Year game could be yet. I haven't played a game that's Game of the Year. Like, I never played like I know Black Wukong, or like
I think it was you mean like the actual games that usually get nominated and win Game of the Year and stuff?
Yeah, like games are very like
You're not usually in the know with that kind of stuff.
Like Elden Ring, no, I never haven't gone to like games like that. I never played like any of the Elden Ring games, the Black Myth Wukong.
Yeah, that's true. Like us historically, both of us, we enjoy games. Like we play pretty regularly. I mean, I don't know exactly how much you play, but it's not we're not casual. We're not over here going, yeah, I just pick up the new Call of Duty and Madden and I'm good, every year. Like we fuck around. We've owned most of the consoles. You especially, you guys were not just Nintendo kids. You were like, you had the Dreamcast. You had did you have previous Sega consoles before the Dreamcast? Did you guys have like a Genesis? Or the Mega Drive?
I believe so. It was more of a Sega Genesis than
I think that was the one right before the Dreamcast, the black one. Yeah. So you guys have always been like, you had the PlayStation, like, it's strange though, like, because I listen to and follow a lot of these like podcasts and shows and stuff, and they're of course always trying to stay on top and be timely, but I never really have been all that much. But I do follow things, so in one way I'm timely. And I feel like it's not that hard. It's not that hard to be timely with Nintendo right now, because this launch period has been interesting, and it's always tough because you are, in a way, if you're looking at just the exclusives for a console, you're starting from scratch. So like if you take away all the back compatibility and all that stuff, it really is just for them. As of right now, it was Dragon Drive, Mario Kart World, and Donkey Kong. And I guess the Switch 2 edition stuff. So like the Mario Party Jamboree and things like, which are okay. And those things are essentially DLC. And I wanted to tackle this direct from the perspective of time and chronological order. So I don't want to go through it based on the first party releases as they revealed them in the direct. We're going to go based on the actual calendar. So I went in and I got it all lined up. And starting off on this release calendar was Donkey Kong Bonanza with the DLC. That got a shadow drop. That was not the game. I was expecting a shadow drop. It was not this. Like, I was not expecting DLC for Donkey Kong Bonanza so soon, potentially. But even then, this one's a little tricky because of the kind of game it is. But they did they have released it, and it was dropped on the 12th. I was expecting, for just to get ahead of it, I was expecting Metroid Prime 4 to shadow drop. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised that they were like, here's a dude, honestly, I thought when I found out it was an hour long, I'm like, this is a Trojan horse. Like, some of it's going to be maybe the Mario 40th. I honestly didn't know if they were going to acknowledge it because they're not super great with that stuff all the time. So I thought maybe that was either going to be there or not. I don't know. But that the end of it was going to be just a Metroid Direct. Like, they were going to pivot. We weren't going to expect it. And it was just going to be Metroid Prime 4 and like a deep dive and stuff. And then at the end, they go, this game is out right now. And I would have, and then shit would have, you know, the world would have ended and stuff. It would have been awesome. But they didn't do that. But we did get a date. But we'll get to there. So officially for this month, unless I'm missing something and it just wasn't announced here, but it was announced beforehand, September is going to be pretty void of any Nintendo first party stuff besides this Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC. And I wanted to just give a preamble first on sort of where I'm at when it comes to DLC. And basically, I'm kind of in a weird spot where I don't hate it, but I don't love the idea of DLC and the many forms that it comes in. Because once I finish a game, like a single player game, that's kind of the games I play, that's why. So like I play a lot of single player stuff. There's a beginning, there's an end, and there's usually a bunch of little things to do along the way, collectibles, side quests, and things like that. And I try to be a completionist, so I'll try to get everything I can that's possible and available during the main campaign to try to 100% it. Because once, I don't know what it is, but historically, once I get that carrot at the end of the stick, I'm done. Like I get that cathartic release, and I'm like, sick. You know, I literally just 100%ed the game. I take my time. I'm not trying to be timely. We just went over that. I'm not trying to beat games as fast as possible to get to the next one as soon as possible. So I like to savor them. If I'm enjoying something, why would I want to rush it? So I always 100% as much as possible. And then once I'm done with all that and there's nothing left, I go for the final boss. And it's hopefully a glorious ending and everything I could have wanted, and I walk away from it and I never look back usually. So for single player games, like I haven't played Bonanza, but it looks like that kind of game where it's like, yeah, we got levels and stuff, but it's a story based game. You got a talking side character with you the whole time. I'm sure there's some emotional stuff that happens with Donkey Kong and Pauline, but I imagine that by the end of this one, I wouldn't really be itching to go back to it, at least anytime soon. I have been replaying stuff, and that's also something I don't usually do, is replay games like right after I beat them. I usually move on and maybe a few years later revisit them, but that's more of a recent thing that I've been doing. But there are two types of DLC that I like. So the first type that I like are sort of live servicey type DLC drops. And these are typically for games that have that don't really have an ending. So games like Mario Kart, Fast RMX, Super Smash Brothers, games where it's like the only reason you stop playing is because you kind of tire of it or because you exhaust all the content that's there. So like when Mario Kart or specifically Fast RMX, for instance, I go hard into the time trials. Like I'm in there trying to beat not just the developer's time, but the very best time I can put. So I'm in there for the single player experience. And a lot of these experiences typically are like pick up and play. So you go in, you do a few things, or you practice with a character in Smash or whatever for a little bit, get some spirits, and then you back out. But like ultimately you can have infinite fun with them in a sense. But like for level based stuff like Fast RMX, it is like levels. Like there's a set number of tracks. There is no track editor either, or anything like that. So it's like eventually at some point I'm gonna run out of tracks to do time trials for. That's the kind of game where I would actually really like if they were like, here's a DLC, or like a release schedule. They're like every other month we're gonna release 2 new tracks or something like that. Or for like Smash, they they did that. They followed that model where it wasn't live servicey, where you had to do like a battle pass type thing. You had to like earn the characters or anything. It was just straight up like, all right, 3 months later, we're going to release this character in this new stage, and they're going to get their own campaign in the classic mode and stuff. And then you can spend as much time as you want playing them. So there's that kind of breed of DLC that I'm in favor of. Just things that add more to games that don't necessarily end, but I don't want to stop playing. And then there's the large scale expansions. And these are not something I have a lot of experience with. One of the most famous ones is The Witcher 3, Blood and Wine or something like that, I think it's called. And I think it's these kinds of expansions, like specifically Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, where it's like it is using all the same mechanics. It's not necessarily a new game, but it's wrapped up in a package that feels almost like Monster Hunter Rise 1.5. Like it almost could pass as a sequel and a standalone game. And we saw that with Elden Ring, where Shadow of the Erdtree dropped, and that game got nominated for Game of the Year. And it's DLC, but it was so sizable and it was so like self-contained and provided so much new content that it was almost this quasi sequel. And Sunbreak does that. And they've kind of been following that. They did that with Monster Hunter World with Iceborne. So those are the types of DLC that I'm for. Like, I mean, the Sunbreak DLC, it starts off and it's like, it takes place after the main game for the last one. And then that game didn't actually release with an ending. They released that as like free DLC, but it did end eventually. But that's what Sunbreak is. It's a whole nother campaign that takes place after the fact. New location, bunch of new monsters, new maps. Like, that's great. And that's also kind of following a live service model. To be honest, I wouldn't be mad if Smash Bros. Ultimate Switch 2 for Switch 2 is just that. We don't get a new Smash, we get a Switch 2 edition, and it's another expansion pack, and it's like 10 new characters, 15 new characters, whatever, and it's like $40. And it's still the same Smash mechanics from the existing game, and you still are launching from that game, but it's a bunch of new content. Like, I honestly wouldn't be mad if they did that, and they kind of kept drip feeding new content for Smash that way, and it was still just paid DLC, like not free. They can't do that. They won't do that. But that's the kind I'm down for. This Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC, this kind of like weird half step, not even a half step, it's like a quarter step, where it's like you get, what is it, this one island. I haven't played, so I don't know what, they didn't even really show what the island itself gives you in terms of content. They mainly show this Emerald Rush. That one doesn't really speak to me. So for this one, as a single player enjoyer, this isn't the kind of DLC that I would typically seek out, especially for this game. I think once you beat that campaign, it probably has a satisfying ending you can walk away from. But those are the two kinds of DLC I enjoy. Scuffy, you are a different gamer than I am. You play a lot of multiplayer games. Your favorite game is Destiny, which is one of the greatest live service games. I mean, you consider it probably the greatest live service game ever made, right?
Yeah.
And that game technically does a weird type of DLC, right? Where you buy the base game and you get, we don't need to go deep into that again, what exactly that is, but you're going to get these digital downloads afterwards that expand the experience further, right?
Yes.
So that DLC is something you're familiar with. Real quick, do you think for Destiny 3 they need to like reconsider how they handle live service content and the way they handle the DLCs, or are you okay with that format and don't think it needs to be like any of the other live service games and how they do it out there?
Well, if we're going to a whole different saga, if they're really doing that, I think they should have just factory reset it and start like, even though like continue on after the saga ends, but start a fresh like new saga startup with the DLC that they're on today. And obviously, yeah, it kind of did. The levels kind of reset it, so they're kind of like started from 0 light level and they go up to like 100 now. Or the last DLC of that saga, last saga was like there were over 3,000 or like something like that. There were over 1,000 light levels and stuff like that. Now it's literally the startup, but I don't know, man. Like,
You don't think that Destiny 3 needs to be all that different from 2 then? You don't want it to be you want it to keep drip feeding content and doing expansions and the DLC the way that it does it
yeah,
going
I
forward?
did because I got bored of it, to be honest, and it's not because of boredom. I don't know how to explain it, but every DLC from that saga has always been the same. Yes, new campaign, new guns, new skins, but every single year. So I would imagine if they're still doing the same mechanic for a new saga, it's like there's no point for me to keep going from there. So
Was it because the story in the final shape was so conclusive, or you've just maybe gotten tired of Destiny and the Destiny universe and want something different?
Yeah, for me though, it was more like if we got Destiny and if we're talking about Light and Darkness Saga, like that's the only thing I want. I'll take it from there. After that, I'm done. I'm not gonna play a whole another fresh Destiny story game with something that could crazy happen later on. It'll be cool to see, but I'm not gonna play it. I already grew up what I played when the game came out, how I kept dedicating myself to keep playing this game with certain friends that I know of. And after that, I know to realize that after this DLC, the final shape, I was kind of done from there.
It's that was a long saga from Destiny 1 to the end of Destiny 2.
I mean, it was 10 years, so the game came out in 2014.
Oh, shit, really?
And the game saga ended in 2024, so yeah. But, like, for Donkey Kong Bonanzas is a little bit different, though, because you're just gaming with an island that was a very... first of all, that announcement was pretty, like, nostalgic for me when I saw when I recognized that island. I'm like, ain't no way they're putting a DK island and as a level base in Bonanzas. Yeah, there was no like additional story. It's just the same story, but just adding a level to it. I don't know.
Interesting. I didn't know you were familiar with that. I don't. I only know of it because of the final Smash.
Oh no, because
Smash Ultimate, no, I mean, it's the island getting destroyed.
No, I played the game. I played DK64, so
no.
Yeah, so I recognize that island. Yeah, I
heard it's a bad game.
Dude, I love that game, bro. I loved it. Yes, that was a first. Like I noticed it right away. That's years gone by before Donkey Kong Bonanzas. DK64 was the only like open world, like not saying open world game, but it was an open game.
3D Donkey Kong.
Yeah, 3D Donkey Kong, and you go anywhere. Besides all the Donkey Kongs that we all like, they all like the DS, Game Boy, GameCube, Wii, all that stuff. It was all like 2D side base, you know. But DK Island was actually the legitimate like open, the open world like game. And then now we come with Donkey Kong Bonanzas. This would be a perfect example of putting the DK Island as a DLC because it is a open level game base, you know, it's not 2D or any limit restriction of how you play the game. It's really like open to the world, to the island or level, how you want to play it. You can literally go anywhere, you go to caves, water, all that kind of stuff. That's how it was in DK64. Like you literally go to waters, go to caves, level base, all that kind of stuff.
Hold up, wait, so all of Donkey Kong 64 takes place on DK Island?
Yeah.
Or is that just like the starting hub?
No, that was a starting hub.
Okay, so you leave the island to go do the rest of the game stuff?
Yeah, I believe so. It's been a while, so
it's been 30 years.
Yeah, it's been a fucking while. So
because if it's that big, like I didn't get that feeling from looking at it in the trailer, but if it's a fucking like whole ass world and it's like just exploring it's gonna take a long time, then dang, never mind. That seems kind of interesting. But again, this is what I'm saying, like with the way I played a lot of single player games. I even finished Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, and that game has DLC, which I bought, but I haven't gone back to it because like that was a good ending. It ended, and I think the DLC tackles some plot holes or a character that wasn't really expanded on during the main campaign. They literally were just like missing. Like I was kind of like, hey, what's up with this character? I haven't seen him. I think that DLC handles that, but because it wasn't something that I could tackle right before finishing the actual campaign, I just don't feel compelled to go do it because it's kind of like, it's not even like the post-credit scene in a movie. It's like sticking around after the credits for like another like 2 episode show. It's like, what? Is this the true ending? Like, if it's not, if it has to do with the final boss, you know what I mean? Like it.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with this kind of DLC, where I was like, I see it, I understand. Like you just said, this is actually really cool because it's calling back to the last 3D Donkey Kong game, which was 20 plus years ago. But even then, like, I don't know, if I was a fan of DK64, like, would this be enough? Because I probably would have finished the game by now. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like this is, if it was in the game and you could do the stuff at DK Island before going to the final boss, different story. I'm like, sick. This is awesome. But the way they handle DLC like this sometimes, it's like, it's just not for me. And it's tough for you because you haven't actually played much of DKC. But first, let's go over. I announced the date. It came out on the 12th, the day of if Shadow dropped, and it's $20. Does this DLC, what you saw of it, because it does add this Emerald Rush, which kind of creates or turns each level into like a roguelike game. So there's that extra element to it too, not just DK Island. But I don't know, in terms of the price, like, does it seem like the right price for it?
I would have to disagree on the price. I think it would have been less than that, of course. Now I'm not gonna say not less than that. Like, it's gonna be like a reasonable price. Like, for me, this should have been like just $10 at least, or 15. Not 20.
You'd fuck with $10?
I would F with $10. Yeah.
Because honestly, there was a time when releases and post game stuff like this, some people would just give it for free. Like this is just, hey,
and the only
thanks.
down part too, like with this kind of DLC, and I kind of see it, is like, yes, this DLC is just adding an island or a level that's still based on the main game of the Donkey Kong Bonanzas. It has to do with DK Islands. Yeah, I'm pretty sure like they do those little side quest things in the island. You know, you got the
like the way the things you do in the main game stuff here.
Yeah. Like I know, like like the Mario Odyssey, like you got like other things to do and stuff like that. It's kind of like similar to like this because obviously Mario Odyssey did make this game, Donkey Kong game. So it's gonna be a little.
Oh, they did.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm gonna say,
it was the Odyssey team.
Yeah, but it's similar. Like it's gonna have like little side quests when you're on the island, than your main quest. But it's not a story from DK Island from like DK64. It's just a story that's from Donkey Kong Bonanzas and what they have to do and stuff like that. But it is a very, very, for me, like more of a nostalgic moment because we're adding the 20-year-old game that's I used to play a lot when I was a kid back then because I loved playing the DK64 at the time.
This is news to me, man. I had no idea.
Yeah,
it feels like only 10 people played it, and you're one of them.
I was playing this when we were living in our own house at the time.
Yeah, yeah, that was.
Yeah, dude, my dad got me that, and I was loving it, dude. It was fun. But to be real though, like I don't know about the pricing wise. This should have been, to be really real, like this could have been free because I don't know anything about the whole the emerald thing or elements or emerald thing that they added with it. It looks like just like a little bonus play of like with your main story possibly. I'm not sure what really does.
Yeah, it's not even story stuff. It's literally just like it turns the levels that they have into a kind of a roguelike, like a different game where you're just trying to like, I don't even know what the end game is. I need to watch it, so I'll admit that I don't understand it fully, but it isn't like, holy shit, here's a new side quest where you're helping Funky Kong. Like Emerald mode is kind of like, it's like an interesting spin on what you can do and how you interact with those levels gameplay wise. It's not, there's no story stuff to it as far as I'm aware and what they told us. Like doing those things is just kind of like to extend your enjoyment of the game and to add just something to do.
Yeah.
Right. So as you were saying with the emerald stuff, like it,
the game, I think the game was like, it was, I mean, obviously the base game is $70, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah.
I think with
70.
this DLC, this would have been my perfect $70 game with the DK Island with it and the whatever mode that they have, the Emerald or Element thing. That would have been my $70 game because I would not accept to have a $20 game DLC into the $70 game, because I feel like that's kind of unnecessary, to be honest. But to me,
$90.
in my perspective, this would have been a good $70 game with the DLC that's included. With, not saying it would have been like included as a DLC, like if it was included in general, like just as a nostalgic memory thing, that'd be really awesome too.
Like, what if the last trailer just had a shot and it just goes from black and it just shows DK Island?
Dude, I would. Okay,
you know what I mean?
Then yeah, that's different, So like
that's what it should have been.
Yeah.
Like, it should have been like, oh snap, because this game, they did something interesting where they brought back Donkey Kong, but he feels like they're introducing him too. Like, we've had Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong's been in like all the Mario games. He's had the country games, like you said, the 2D stuff. But honestly, when I look at the new design, I don't really see him as Donkey Kong, the one we know and stuff that we grew up with. I see him as like a kind of like almost like if it's his son or something. Like, it's a new Donkey Kong. And like the game itself, like all the levels we've seen in the trailers and stuff, I still haven't played it, so I don't know if the visuals become a little bit more synonymous with country and whatnot. But like, you've seen the video and trailers and stuff too, like the environments, the enemies, none of it looks like old school Donkey Kong, right?
Yeah.
Like all the Bananza specific stuff besides DK Island, like it feels brand new, which is interesting, but at the same time, it's like I don't know how if it counts as catering to Donkey Kong fans when you're presenting them a Donkey Kong that in every way seems completely different from the Donkey Kong we knew. Like, I've played the 2D Donkey Kong games. I haven't played Donkey Kong 3 or the Donkey Kong. What the hell's the 3D game called? World? Donkey Kong 3D? 64?
Yeah,
64.
DK64.
Yeah, DK64. Like, I haven't played that one, but I'm familiar with that design of Donkey Kong. So I have an idea in my mind of what he is. And everything about this game it wasn't giving off DK vibes, So to a lot of people, I think if you had showed DK Island at the end of one of like the last trailer that they showed, that could have been the thing that was like, that could have got people over the top and excited, because like they're like, oh, this is actually the Donkey Kong I know and grew up with, even though he looks a little different. Like, we are gonna get to that place where we go to the jungle that we're familiar with and all that stuff, and not these weird biomes and all these like rocks and gold and all this stuff. All the visual iconography was kind of alien from the series, and I think I might have worked against it, especially as the return to 3D for Donkey Kong. People might have been a little bit more pensive about it because of that. So I think, yeah, you're right. This DLC, it would have done a lot more if it had just been included in the base game. And this is one of those things where you could have left it in the game, the base game, like you said, as a secret. Like one of those areas you unlock towards the end and you're like, oh my God, we're going to DK Island. Like, that would have been a great surprise too. But I think, again, because of how visually different everything about this game was, including Donkey Kong himself, showing DK Island as being part of it would have been the right choice.
Yeah.
Even if it does eliminate it as a surprise for people that buy the game and play it and stuff. Because there's kind of a surprise like that in Odyssey, but you don't know it. It's a secret. They didn't show it in any of the trailers, but then again, it was clearly Mario. Like, they didn't have the same problem here with advertising that they did with Donkey Kong Bonanza, and I think this DK Island stuff would have taken it over the top, because they also announced that day that they're releasing a demo for Donkey Kong Bonanza on the eShop. So up until now, there wasn't a demo you could play in the eShop. You could go to your local Best Buy or Target or something like that and try it out. I actually went, and they didn't even have a kiosk. They just had a couple of Switch 2s like stapled to the table, and it didn't have Donkey Kong. I was like, damn. To me, that was probably the more interesting thing about the Donkey Kong info we got in this direct, because in the Switch 1 generation, they didn't really do that very often. They didn't provide demos for their games. And there's a couple of theories as to why I think that they didn't, along with other developers and studios that don't do it either. So just for context, like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you could play that in a store. You could run around for like 10 minutes or whatever on the Great Plateau. But at no point during the Switch 1 generation did they release a demo for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. They didn't release one for Tears of the Kingdom. They didn't release one for Mario Odyssey, which that one would have worked fine because that game is like level based. It has these specific small worlds.
Yeah.
So they could have put the first world in there with the hats and stuff, just to give people a chance to play it and try it. And they didn't even do it for things that were a little bit more abstract gameplay wise, like Astral Chain. That's one I've been interested in because of its like sci-fi look to it, but I'm not familiar with Platinum Games action stuff, so I kind of would have liked to try it first because it's also a full price game. I'm like, what am I going to pay $60 for something I have no idea what it plays like. So
Yeah.
they didn't do it often. And this is the first time, actually I think they did this for one other Switch game where they put a demo out sometime after the game had been released. But for the Switch 2 generation, as of now, I don't think there's a Mario Kart World demo. So this is the first time they've done it where they have a full-blown demo on the shop you can download anytime for a game. And honestly, I think it's a bad sign not for us, because I'm pro demo. I think they should do that with every game if possible, which I think it is. I think it points to them not selling as well as they thought they would. Because let's look at the inverse. Mario Odyssey sold almost 30 million copies. Breath of the Wild sold 30 million copies. Tears of the Kingdom has sold 20 million or 20 plus. If they were following that logic of releasing a demo for a game because it was successful and they wanted to celebrate it or show it off even more, then they would have done so for those games, right?
Yeah.
They didn't, but they did it for Donkey Kong. And to me, and the other games they've done it for, they did it for like Princess Peach Showtime, Mario and Donkey Kong March of the Minis. They made one for Switch. That one has a demo, which is really bad. This tells me that this game did not sell well, and now they want to get people interested because especially now with the DLC and being featured in the Direct, this demo released on the same day as the DLC, and they want people to be interested in it by giving them a taste, by letting them do something they don't seemingly like to do, which is put free content or free slices of their game out for people to try. So that to me is what the demo said about the game, which is that they think they need it because people didn't buy it, as not as many people bought it as much as they thought they would. So they need to further convince people because what they've shown wasn't enough. The reviews wasn't enough. It's scoring like 9s and 10s. It's one of the Game of the Year front runners. Yet maybe sales weren't there, so they kind of need to push people into trying it with this free demo. And I'll make this quick. I'm pro demo, but because I have a new policy now, because I was going through my backlog when I was looking at the virtual cards after they did that update with Switch 1, and I was like, damn, I honestly don't even know if I like some of these games because they were just games I bought when they were on sale, and I was like, oh, these look pretty interesting. And there have been a few that are notable, like Hades and Balatro, which I've tried, and I actually didn't like them as much as everybody else. Even though like Hades is one of the most famous and beloved indie games, it didn't vibe with me. Balatro, it's got a lot of cool things going for it. I'm not addicted to it in the same way other people are. Those games don't have demos, at least. Maybe Balatro does on Windows or iOS or whatever. I don't know. But so I have this new policy now going forward. I'm still going to go through my backlog and try out what I have because I freaking bought them. I have to and I want to. But I have a new policy where I only buy games that I have been able to try myself, get my hands on beforehand, whether it's with a demo, whether it's with Game Pass, or through a rental service like GameFly, or if there's anything else like that. If there's anything else like that. I don't think there is. So I'm happy with this. I'm worried why they did it, but I'm still happy it's there now. But what about you, Scuffy? Are you as strict as me when it comes to how you purchase games and whether you need to play it beforehand with a demo or some kind of preview event or something like that? Or do you just go based on what looks good to you, based on vibes? You don't need to actually get on the sticks and get a feel for the controls. Because I also bought a game on the Wii U way back called Tesla Grad. And that one was, Wii U days were rough, dog. Like, we were celebrating every little thing we got because we got nothing most of the time. So anytime something dropped, it was a big deal. And that was one of those indies that was like, oh God, you gotta play this. This thing's the best. I hate the controls in that game. It's so floaty. I'm like, and it's a Metroidvania. It should be up my alley. But apparently, even some Metroidvanias are too off on certain areas for me. And I won't play them to the end, even though it's my favorite genre. And that's one of them. I was like, I just don't like how this controls. So that's like my new policy now going forward. If I don't experience it, get my hands on it, especially if it's an unknown quantity, like Pokemon Legends Zeta A, I know what to expect. I played the previous one, and I know there's a new combat system, but it's probably going to be okay, but I'm still not that interested in it. But that's one I wouldn't need a demo. Donkey Kong looks super cool. I honestly was ready to go in on that one. But what about you? Like, what are your purchasing habits? Do you care about demos? Do you need them? You're a PC guy. I've been on Steam a lot lately. Every other game gets a demo. It's crazy. There's so many. But do you ever mess with those, or do you just, like I said, go in based on how you feel about it, just looking at it?
I do mess with games, certain demos at the time. It's funny because I just downloaded the Donkey Kong demo right now on my Switch. But it does sound like it could be like a sales issue if it is having a demo for Donkey Kong Bonanzas. I mean, it probably is not selling well, and I could think of maybe because I'm assuming the price wise, how the economy is right now. I'm not gonna get too political, but like that's how I see what's going on right now. Or maybe
tariffs.
Yeah, tariffs.
I'll get political. I'll say it because it's economics. It's not even politics. It's economics. It's tariffs.
Yeah,
tariffs have made everything more expensive.
Yeah,
keep going.
But I don't know what maybe they kind of like see like, oh, from the past games, maybe they just say like, hey, it's just another Mario Odyssey type game, but it's Donkey Kong.
Exactly, dude. This is what like the Switch 2 launch has been tumultuous. I actually, to be transparent, I don't have a Switch 2. But I'm still paying attention. I am a proud Switch owner. I love it. It's not like, oh, I fucking hate this thing and I hate Nintendo now. Like, no, like there's just a lot of decisions and things around Switch 2 that got me in this place. But Donkey Kong Bonanza was not one of those things. I thought it looked great. I knew when I saw it, I was like, this is their 3D platformer. Basically, this is their 3D Mario. But you know what I kept hearing, dude, in every podcast and all that since this game was announced and stuff? This looks cool, but I really want to see 3D Mario. I'm like, you're not getting it. This is their 3D platformer. They didn't say which team had made it up until like recently. For a long time, we didn't know which team inside Nintendo was making the game. But I was ready to put money down. This is the Mario Odyssey team. They pivoted. They said, we did everything like Odyssey is so good. Like, I don't know how they top it. And I think they felt the same way too. And they're like, we want to do something different. We've been making 3D Mario games and not 3D Donkey Kong games for 20 years. Let's try something different. And this is it. And this is that 3D Mario. And like you said, this demo can give people a chance to see, oh, this isn't like, I think they've mentioned it now that it was the 3D Mario team that made this. So like the guy who made Mario Odyssey and Mario Galaxies 1 and 2 is the director or like producer for this game. that alone should be enough to convince you this is their premier 3D platformer and it's based.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, people, if it's a sales thing, I think a lot of it is they saw it and they barely recognize that it's Donkey Kong because there's almost no regular Donkey Kong iconography there. And he's not Mario. It's not a 3D platformer, a Mario 3D platformer if there's no Mario in it, right? But I guarantee you, if you play it, I don't know about you, but like you love Donkey Kong too. You fucked with Donkey Kong 64, so you're a real one. But I bet people who were like, I'm more interested in a 3D Mario because those are great and they control great. And I don't blame them for thinking like that, but this demo should have been there day one because I think it would have sold people like, hey, it's different, but you're talking about people who know what they're doing. They're 3D platforming geniuses. And this can give you a chance to see that. And I think it's, when it comes to demos, for me, it's always the indie games that need them the most because a lot of indie games are doing weird stuff. Like, they're like, what about this crazy idea? And I'm like, I don't know. It looks really weird and dumb. And then you try it and you're like, oh no, it's actually really cool. But you wouldn't really know until you get your hands on it and try it. And I think Donkey Kong was one of those games where it's like, it's just weird enough where DLC like, or a demo like that was really important, and DK Island would have been really important to include from the start and would have played into maybe a better sales forecast than the one that they got. But you're downloading the demo now. But you said you do it sometimes, like you, but you're not as hard, you're not a hardliner like me then. You're like, it has to have a demo before I try it or I'm not gonna buy it. Like, that's not where you're at, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't like see myself like, oh, I'm gonna play the demo just to see if the game is worth it. I sometimes just go straight to the bat. If I get the game, hey man, but the money's gone and either I'm gonna like it or I'm not gonna like it and just not play it. So but I think there's some good take that big games like this, like it's a good example to get a good taste to see what the game's going to be about. But, you know, presentation's going to show it all, and people are going to see it, what's going to be really compared to, what's going to be new of, you know, it's just how they present to their game, how they're pricing the game. And I think that Donkey Kong Bonanza's like, I want to say like it took a flop from like in my perspective. Maybe it has throughout the world, like with games like this, because like I mentioned earlier, like this game is really just a similar game to Mario Odyssey, just with a different character and maybe some minor stories that could be related to Pauline and how it is in Mario Odyssey. But I think that will be really crazy though, is that if Donkey Kong Bonanzas was not a thing, but they did make a new Donkey Kong game, here was my take. If they actually redid the DK64 into a Switch version, I would 100% buy this. Even if it was $70, bro, I would 100% buy it. Because I think it was a very nostalgic moment. And the fact that, yes, they did put the DK Island in the game, but obviously with the $20 expansion fee, which I don't think that should be not worth for that price. I think it should be either free or $10. My take from there. But
Or you know what? What if it was standalone?
as
You
standalone.
didn't have to buy the main game. You could buy the DLC only.
Oh, okay.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
They could do that too.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, I think that there is good take to get it. There should be a little taste to it, just to get to understand what the game is going to be about, how you to play the game, and to make sure if the game is worth it. But the timing though is inappropriate. They should have done this beforehand, kind of get to see what the game's gonna be about, because they know the price is gonna be coming to like this. They know they're gonna know